I'm Dawn Hill, host of Heart, Mind, and Purpose, a podcast where we explore what it means to live an aligned and wholehearted life. I am a professional counselor with over 25 years of experience and a deep love for meaningful conversation. I bring you honest reflections, soulful questions, and meaningful tools for managing life. Whether you're seeking clarity, connection, or simply a space to breathe, this podcast is here for you. Tune in weekly and join me on the journey.
Welcome to Heart, Mind, and Purpose, the podcast where we explore how our inner lives shape the way we love, connect, and grow. Hi, this is Paul Gramercy, producer of today's episode, where Dawn explores what it means to stay connected without losing yourself. From communication to trust, she'll unpack how healthy limits create room for intimacy, respect, and lasting love. Whether you're dating, married, or somewhere in between, this episode offers wisdom for every heart learning to love well. This episode is called Love with Limits, Boundaries in Romantic Relationships. Now here's your host, Dawn Hill.
Welcome back to Heart, Mind, and Purpose. In earlier episodes, we laid a foundation by talking about attachment and how our nervous system develops a sense of safety. Today, we're going to build on that foundation by looking at something that impacts every stage of our romantic relationships and their boundaries. Now, boundaries might sound like rules or restrictions, but really, they are the lines that make love safe. They help us know where we end and where the other person begins. Without them, relationships can get confusing, messy, and sometimes even hurtful. With them, we can find clarity, respect, and the freedom to grow closer. Whether you're parenting a teen who's learning to date, stepping into marriage for the first time, or navigating the daily give and take of a long-term relationship, boundaries are what keep us steady. They are not walls to keep people out. They are bridges that help us connect in healthy ways. So today we're going to explore what boundaries look like in dating, in marriage, and even for adolescents just starting out to figure out love. We'll talk about the myths, the red flags, and the green flags, and the tools that make boundaries doable and life-giving. When we talk about boundaries in relationships, we're really talking about the guidelines or limits we set to define what feels safe and respectful. Boundaries are how we communicate what we're comfortable with and, just as importantly, what we are not comfortable with. Healthy boundaries can take many forms. For instance, physical boundaries, like personal space and comfort with affection. Emotional boundaries, like respecting each other's feelings and not using guilt or manipulation. Mental boundaries, like allowing space for different opinions or beliefs. And practical boundaries, like time, money, and even digital privacy. When we honor these lines, we are not creating walls. We are creating clarity. Boundaries make relationships safer, healthier, and more respectful. They can help both partners feel valued and secure, which is the soil where trust and love grow. Boundaries aren't about restriction. They are about freedom. In fact, the healthiest relationships are built on clear and loving boundaries because they, 1, promote mutual respect, 2, support emotional and mental well-being, 3, encourage independence and a strong sense of identity, 4, reduce misunderstandings and conflict through clear communication, and finally, build trust and prevent resentment. When you think about it, boundaries are what make intimacy possible. Without them, we are risking blurring roles, losing trust, or feeling taken advantage of. With them, relationships can flourish and grow. And what do boundaries look like in day-to-day life? Here are a few examples couples often navigate. First, personal space. In any relationship, personal space is a paramount boundary. This involves respecting each other's need for alone time and understanding that building a relationship does not equate to being together every moment. Personal space allows individuals to maintain their sense of self and recharge, contributing to a healthier relationship dynamic. Then there's digital privacy. The respect for digital privacy has become a critical boundary in the digital age. This includes refraining from snooping through each other's phones, emails, or social media accounts. Respecting digital privacy underlines trust and respect in the relationship. Social independence. Maintaining friendships and interests outside the relationship. This ensures that each partner retains their identity and social network outside of the relationship, promoting a sense of self and independence. The boundary helps prevent feelings of confinement and dependency, which can lead to resentment. Now about finances. Agreeing on spending, saving, or keeping money separate while dating. And while dating, wisdom is keeping your finances separate. Family involvement. This is where deciding how much influence extended family will have in your relationship and how family time is managed. This is vital to ensure a couple's relationship remains autonomous and respected while still having connections. And then conflict resolution. How conflicts are handled can make or break a relationship. Recognizing and respecting each other's conflict resolution style is essential. Some might need time to cool off before discussing an issue, while others prefer immediate resolution. Recognizing these styles and finding a middle ground in a healthy relationship needs to be set. And finally, sexual and physical boundaries. Sexual boundaries are among the most significant aspect of a relationship. Clear communication and mutual consent are key. Both partners should feel comfortable expressing their desires and limits and be respected. These are not a one-size-fits-all. Boundaries should reflect the values, needs, and personalities of each person in a couple. For Christians, dating and marriage carry an added layer of meaning. It is not just about finding companionship, it is about honoring God and building a relationship that reflects His design. That's why boundaries aren't just practical, they're spiritual. Keeping Christ at the center through prayer, shared value, and discernment shapes how couples approach intimacy, communication, and commitment. So here's a few things to remember. Clarify your intentions early. Are you both pursuing marriage or just companionship? Set physical boundaries that honor God. Physical affection can be one of the trickiest parts of dating. Remember that your body is a temple. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 says, "Do you not know your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own, you are bought with a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." So deciding together what's appropriate and holding each other accountable is essential. Now, guarding your heart emotionally. This one is extremely important and not to be minimized. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." These words remind us not to share too much, too soon, and to build trust gradually. Staying accountable with time. Avoid unnecessary temptation by spending time together in safe and wise environments. And finally, watch for red flags. If someone pressures you to compromise your faith or disregards your value or crosses your boundaries, pay attention. Do not minimize these flags. I will tell you, many people over 26 years have come into my office in a bad place in their relationship because they realized what were red flags. They just said at the time were, no, that's just a pink flag or an orange flag. It's not really, it doesn't really mean anything, even though in their gut they knew, but they minimized it and pushed it off only to have it resurface in the relationship and cause trouble enough that they're seeking marriage counseling. That's not a bad thing to do, but minimizing things can take us places we're not expecting to go in a relationship. Now, when in the dating phase of a romantic relationship, we need to be wise and be aware of who is a safe person. I would like to address boundaries from a developmental frame for adolescence, dating, and marriage. Boundaries aren't just for adults in long-term relationships. They grow with us. What starts as rules in adolescence becomes self-protection in dating and mutual respect in marriage. So let's talk about dating in adolescence. Teens are testing independence, identity, and intimacy all at once. Boundaries here are about safety, self-worth, and respect. For example, a teen who feels pressured to share their phone password with a partner, a healthy boundary would be, I don't share my passwords with anyone. A red flag here is, if you trust me, you'll give me your password. A green flag is, I respect your privacy. Here's another example. A teen sets a limit around physical affection, like no kissing yet. A respectful partner honors it without pressure. A red flag is, if you love me, you would, fill in the blank. A green flag is, thanks for telling me, I respect that. For young adults and newly married people, early marriage often brings new boundary challenges. Here are only a few examples of different areas that are commonly encountered. Finances. A couple agrees to talk before spending over $100. A red flag would be hiding purchases or opening secret credit cards. A green flag is creating a budget together and checking in with each other regularly. With family dynamics, a newly married couple decides together how to spend holidays. A red flag is one partner lets their parents dictate all the plans. A green flag is let's figure out what works for us first, then we'll let our families know. And then with time management, work or hobbies can crowd out the relationship. A healthy boundary might be one no-work date night each week. A red flag is a partner always prioritizing work over the marriage. A green flag is a partner honors the agreed-upon time together. These healthy boundaries create a natural arc for learning boundaries, practicing them in dating, and refining them in marriage. And so now let's look at some common myths and misconceptions. One would be boundaries are selfish. They are not selfish. They protect respect and intimacy. This is self and relationship care. Here's another. If we're in love, we shouldn't need boundaries. Love without boundaries can burn out or become unhealthy and leave one person feeling unsafe in the relationship. Or, here's another. Boundaries mean control. Real boundaries are not about controlling another person. They're about self-control, respect, clarity, and safety, just to mention a few things. Thinking about the red and green flags in your relationship, they are not just judging each other, thinking about the red and green flags in your relationship. They are not about judging each other, or rather think of them as quick cues to pay attention to. For example, red flags are things like pressure to move faster than you want, dismissing your values, isolating you from friends, constant surveillance, digital or otherwise. Green flags show respect for your limits, willingness to talk about the hard things, keeping commitments, and honesty about intentions. Boundaries live or die on communication. For example, you can practice using I statements like, I feel anxious when you read my text without asking. Clarify expectations early in the relationship. For example, for me, dating is about exploring marriage. And then revisit the boundaries. They are not static. They can shift as trust grows. So when you're first dating, you might have more strict and firm boundaries around a lot of things, but as the relationship grows and trust increases, then you talk again and you move those boundary lines to a place that both people are comfortable with. A person who respects you will adjust when you express a boundary or a need. A person who wants to use you will use guilt and shame you for even having boundaries or needs. As a Christian, boundaries carry an added spiritual meaning. Adolescence, remember 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, reminds us our bodies are our temples, so setting physical limits honors that truth. In newly married couples, remember Genesis 2:24, which says that this is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united with his wife, and they become one flesh. This highlights why couples need their own new family boundaries and not constant parental control. Overall, boundaries protect love. So here are a few things to reflect upon. Number 1, think about your first dating relationship. Did you know where your limits and your values were? Or 2, if you are married, how do you and your spouse set boundaries around finances or in-laws? Or 3, parents, what boundaries can you model so your teens can see them lived out and not just talked about? The bottom line, boundaries don't kill romance, they protect it. They give us freedom to be ourselves, to grow as individuals, and to trust that a relationship is safe and respected. Whether you are navigating the maze of modern dating or building a marriage that lasts, boundaries are not just helpful, they are essential. Because in the end, healthy boundaries say, I love you, I respect you, and I honor who we are together and who we are as individuals. For example, I would like to share, from my own life and being in practice for 26 years, I've worked with so many couples. And I will tell you, if I wrote a book on marriage counseling, I would write a book called Respect and Safety. Because What I've learned over time is that in a marriage relationship, that most men can take a lot of hiccups if in the end they know they're respected, and a lot of women can take those same hiccups and work through them if they know they are safe. And without those two things, it's much more difficult to progress. Boundaries help us develop both respect and safety, that sense that we are okay with each other no matter how many hiccups there will be. I'd like to share a quote here from Dr. Sue Johnson, who I just have loved learning from over the years. She is a co-creator of EFT, which is emotionally focused therapy, and she said, "If you know your loved one is there and will come when you call, you're more confident of your worth and your value. And the world is less intimidating when you have another to count on and know that you are not alone." As we wrap up today, I want you to remember this. Boundaries don't shut love down, they protect it. They create the kind of clarity and respect that allow intimacy to deepen instead of eroding it. Whether you are a teenager in your first romantic relationship, a couple navigating in-laws and finances, or a believer trying to honor God in dating, boundaries give you freedom. Freedom to be yourself, to be respected, and to respect the other person, and to build a trust that lasts. So here's the last question I'd like to leave you with. What boundary could you set or clarify this week that would actually bring more peace and respect into your relationship? If today's episode resonated, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need the encouragement in their relationship. Until next time, be kind to your heart, clear in your mind, and grounded in your purpose. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Heart, Mind, and Purpose. If today's conversation about boundaries in romantic relationships resonated with you, we'd love for you to share it with someone who could use some encouragement. You can also find resources, listener handouts, and more at dawnmariehill.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode as we keep exploring how the heart, the mind, and our sense of purpose all work together for a life well lived. Until next time, thanks for listening.